together. So let's begin on all fours. We're going to start with a little bit of cat and cow. And if this is not comfortable for your wrists or you don't like to be on all fours, by all means, you can do this seated, cross-legged, or you can sit in a chair. Those work just fine as alternatives for the same actions. So if you are on all fours, the knees are directly below the hips and the wrists are directly below the shoulders. We begin with an inquiry of flexion and extension of the spine. So as you inhale, drop the belly, lift the sitting bones, lift the tailbone, begin to let the collarbones shine forward, arching, cow pose. And then as we exhale, drawing the tailbone down, the belly to the spine, let the mid-back dome and let the head drop. Keep this going in your own in-breath and out-breath. This is an action we do often. And I want to suggest today to let this movement be guided by the vertebrae. So beginning with the tailbone, as you begin to exhale and curl, walking up the spine, one vertebra at a time. And then starting from the top down, from the neck down, letting one vertebra at a time drop as you move into the arch and travel down the spine. And then again, exhaling, root the tailbone. And start with the lumbar vertebrae going all the way up. And then coming back down vertebra by vertebra, lengthening, opening, dropping. And see if that doesn't bring a different valence to this action we so frequently take in yoga. Noticing as you go vertebra to vertebra, are there particular spots in the spine that feel awake, vibrant, responsive, and other parts that feel less so, less responsive, or maybe function not vertebra by vertebra, but in a whole chunk, maybe a few at a time in some areas of the spine. And just noticing, not judging it. And then as you're ready, coming back to a neutral spine. And we're going to thread the needle. So if you're sitting in the chair, the arm just comes across the chest. You hold it with the other arm and take a slight twist. And if you're on the floor with me, inhaling the right arm out to the side. And then as you exhale, thread it behind the left, palm facing up, and lay the arm down till you get to the shoulder, side of the head against the floor, and press those left fingertips into the floor to effect a twist. Let the rib cage spin around the spine. And further variations you can take if you like. You might bring the left arm up towards the ceiling. You might rotate it inwardly and take it around the back if the shoulder allows. You can take hold around the right thigh. Several options. See what feels good today. And take the breath to the space between the shoulder blades. And as you're ready, starting to unfurl, press into the left hand to come on up, back to center, pause. Just notice any difference, particularly in the back of the shoulder and the shoulder blade from right to left. What do you notice? Take a moment to bring the attention to the jaw hinge. Just be easy. You might drop the lower jaw a couple times. Just remind it not to do the work. Inhale the left arm out to the left and exhale, thread it behind the right. Fingertips extending, palm facing up. Slide that arm across the body. Press into those right fingertops as you spin the ribs. Just taking it easy in this first twist. The right arm might come up towards the ceiling. It might internally rotate. You might take it behind the back, grab hold of the left thigh. Notice if you have any impulse towards striving. See if you can back off the gas a little bit. Just feeling into what's here and what's needed. Again, breathing into that space between the shoulder blades. And then coming on down, unraveling, press into those right fingertops to come back up. We're going to sit it back to a child pose, so buttocks to heels. And if that's too much on your knees, take that blanket behind the knees. Give yourself some space for the knee joints. Arms forward. Extending the forehead, extending the crown of the head long. Lift the eyes of the inner elbows up towards the ceiling. Walk the arms a little bit over to the right. Kind of take a little walk with your fingertips. Whatever the hand equivalent is of heel toe. Heel toe the fingers. Draw that left hip back and away from the left wrist, feeling that opening across the left side of the body. Nice yawn, opening. And then take the hands walking through center and over towards the left. Opening across the right side of the body, the right armpit, the whole side of the rib cage. Enlivening the breath. Draw that right hip back. And coming back to center. Walking the hands in. Come to a comfortable seat for a moment. So our guidance for this practice is from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs, chapter 5, the first half of the second verse, primarily. Ani yeshena v'libi er. I was asleep, but my heart was awake. My heart was wakeful. Kol dodi dofek, the voice of my beloved knocks. Pitchili, open to me. I was asleep, but my heart was awake. Right, so this idea that the investigation today, really, the tagline is what is awake and what is asleep in this body, this beloved body, this dodi of ours, this place we live. There are always parts that are more awake, more alive, more stimulated, and parts that are a little more closed off or asleep, as it were. And I think of the heart, v'libi er, like the heart is almost like a pilot light for the body, right? So even if there are places that are not wakeful, are not alert, there's a place in the heart that always stays awake, and the body is giving us sensation, giving us emotions, feelings. And the question is, can we tap in, pitchili, and answer that call of open to me? right? Because so often we add this complex layer of cognition onto and rationale onto the raw sensations of the body. So we're trying to awaken to that voice, that kol dodi, that beloved voice. The body is knocking. Kol dodi dofek. The body is knocking. Are we gonna open? And it's really a moment to moment ongoing practice of opening to sensation, opening to the voice of my beloved self, answering its knock with compassion, its inner voice. So where is the body knocking? What is knocking? What wants to be heard or felt or responded to? And how can we amplify our listening to, to the awakened heart? So that's the guidance for our general practice today. What is awake? What is asleep? And how can we bring our attention to the various voices? We'll do a little bit of emphasis on backbending, on heart awakening and opening amidst our general practice. So let's begin standing. Have your belt and your block handy. And find a nice balanced mountain pose. The feet can be together or apart. Widen the collarbones, extend through the fingertips. Ground those feet. Send the crown of the head skyward. Notice what you feel. And now we're going to grab some props. And props give us a lot of information to the body, and that's why we use them. So if you have a block, we're going to take it between the thighs. The thighs are going to roll inward toward the block. So we really awaken that inseam of the leg down to the inner arch. The strap, you're going to belt, you're going to make a loop, and it should come roughly inner armpit to inner armpit. Say each inseam of your shirt. If your shoulders are challenged, are quite tight, then you want to make it a little bit wider than that. You'll see as you go. The belt comes onto the forearms, the upper forearm right near the elbow, and right away extend through the fingertips, and then begin to lift the arms out to shoulder height. Send the fingertips away for a moment, and then draw the fingertips, draw the upper arm bones into the shoulder socket. Really ground the arm bones into the shoulder socket, and then lift up. Good. If the shoulders start to come up to the ears, then your belt is too tight. You need to widen it. You want to have a nice amount of space for the back of your neck and tops of the shoulders, that it can be easy as you come up, right? So as you bring those arms up, you should see the upper arms in your peripheral vision. You don't want to go too far back. Extend through the fingertips. Renew that squeeze on the block. Drop the tailbone. Might notice some space coming into the abdomen. Eyes easy. Allow some sensation to build as we open these outer arms, the armpits, the whole side body. And see what you notice. What feels quite alive and quite awake at this moment. And push the forearms against the belt like you could break the belt, pushing out. And notice what happens as a result of that isometric pressing. And then as you're ready, bring the arms down. You can release the block from between the legs. And again, just notice, are there any parts of the body now speaking to you with any more alertness, vibration, pulsing, any awakeness, any awakening? We're going to take the belt and just make a smaller loop. So there are a couple options. If your shoulders are tight, you're just going to take the wide part of the loop. We're going to go back like this, right? If your shoulders are fairly open, take your thumbs on the inside of that loop and the fingers on the outside like this. And just as we were pressing with the forearms, we're going to press the thumbs away on that loop. So finding mountain pose and inhaling, sending the arms back. Lift the chest, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And then as you exhale, bring it back in. Right, so it's just a preliminary movement. We're not holding it. We're using the breath. Inhale, lift and open. Press the heels down. Lift the middle of the heart up. You might start to take the gaze a little bit up. Exhale and come back in. So do this in a flow with your breath. Inhaling, lifting. The shoulders roll up and back. The heart opens. The lungs open. And exhale, come back. Another time or two. Feel that widening across the collarbones. And feel that squeeze of the shoulder blades toward each other. And see if you can put the work only where the work needs to be, not in the muscles of the face or the throat or the jaw. And then as you're ready, leaving that, can put the belt down. And then one more time, come to an even mountain pose in the center. Find the four corners of the feet grounding down, inner, outer heel. Mound of the big toe across to the mound of the little toe. Notice what you feel. Notice if there's anything new or different. Now we'll take the legs nice and wide. We're going to fold forward. So maybe you know that your hands come to the floor. You might take a block or two blocks. You might face a chair. Legs are wide, the outer edge of the outer feet parallel to the edge of the mat, and then take the toes, draw them in slightly. Take the hands to the hips and just feel on your own pelvis. Are the hip bones even? Is one higher than the other? See if you can get a sense of where your hips are in space. Ground the feet. Ground the tailbone. Inhale and lift the heart up. Draw those elbows back, just like we just did. And then as you exhale, fold forward at the crease of the hips, and the hands come to the blocks, to the floor. Inhale here, long spine. Send the crown away, and then exhale, begin to fold a little further into the pose. And again, hands can rest where you need them. If you're coming down a little more fully, fingertips in line with the toes pointing forward and the elbows drawing toward each other, head coming down. You might choose to rest the crown of your head on a chair, on a block. Good, now lift up from the Achilles tendon all the way up the back of the leg to the sitting bones. Lift that up and let the torso spill forward. Draw the belly in towards the spine. So there is a little bit of a rounding of the low back. Stamp those heels down. Feel the wakefulness in the back of the legs. Sure, they're speaking. As you're ready, Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, the hands to the hips. Inhale, lift the heart. Gaze up. Exhale, come back to center. Heel, toe, the feet together. And pause. And notice. You might take a hand to the belly, hand to the heart space. Feel the coming and going of this breath. Opening to this breath, to this body today. We'll come to the floor. So take your blanket, gonna fold it and place it under the hips, roughly like that. So it's directly beneath the hip points. Let it support the hips as we come forward. Make a pillow for your head with the backs of your hands and just lay the head down. Or if it's more comfortable, you can rest the head to the side, rest on one cheek. Little elevation of the hips helps to lengthen out the lower back and give some space for the abdomen. Feel the breath coming and going. Feel the belly press against the floor, against the mat on the in-breath. And recede on the out-breath. Feel the back ribs open and lift with the in-breath. Like a little parachute on the back body. We're going to come from here into a Sphinx pose, so you can control how much you want to come up. Lengthen the tailbone. Draw those hip bones up towards the ribs, and draw the low belly in. Let the heart extend and begin to press into the forearms to come up. So if you keep the forearms and forward, right, the more forward you bring them on the mat, the less arch you have in the low back. So that would be just sort of your baby Sphinx, right, coming up a little bit. And depending on how you feel in your lower back, just go inch by inch, starting to move the arms back. You might settle in to the elbows below the shoulders, potentially. So anywhere you need to be, find that spot. And it's a continuous lengthening back of the tailbone toward the heels. Feel that you could, by pressing those forearms into the floor, that you could drag your heart forward past the elbows. You can really shine the heart forward, widen the collarbones. Again, those shoulder blades squarely onto the back. And then depending on the extension of your cervical spine, of your neck, Gaze can be a little bit forward or coming up. See what your neck allows. If your spine is more open, you might press into those hands and start to work towards straightening the arms and coming up a little more. And while we're here in this beautiful back bend, this lovely architectural form of the arc, notice as you walk up the spine in your mind's eye, where the spine feels present, alert, where you can kind of contact the sensation, and where it might feel stuck, asleep, unwilling to budge. And see if you can bring a loving presence to the whole thing. And as you're ready, lowering down to the floor and pausing. Notice the echo, the reverberation of that back bend. And now we're going to remove the blanket and take hold of that belt once again. And take the belt behind you. And again, you can decide, you can either take the arms wide along the strap, or you can take that smaller loop area. And once again, the thumbs go inside the loop. So, to prepare, extend the tops of the feet, extend the toes long. Take the shoulders up towards your ears and take a roll around, drawing the shoulders back, the upper arm bones back, elbows bent, draw the elbows toward each other. So elbows toward each other, squeezing shoulder blades toward each other, and then extend the thumbs and attempt to pull that belt apart. Let that pulling back and apart lift the heart. This is pretty intense. Can be pretty intense. So feel free again to come in and out. And take a few repetitions. Heart forward, toes away. Make some space between the lower part of the rib cage and the upper part of the hips. And then if you like, in addition to raising the upper body, you might also lift the legs. Use the breath. And as you're ready, coming down. So you can make that as quiet and low or as dynamic and fiery as you like. And as you're ready, releasing. Couple options here. You might bend the knees and take windshield wipers side to side or circles with the feet. You might press into the hands and slowly press back to a child pose, if that feels comfortable. You might take a downward facing dog, just as a counter stretch for the spine. Keep the knees bent, spine long. And slowly make your way down. We're going to come into wide legs, sitting. You might want your blanket to sit up on. Take the legs wide. And once again, have your strap nearby. So we're going to start by taking the hands behind. Draw the elbows toward each other. Lift the crown. Lift the rib cage up. Send those heels away and also the balls of the feet away. You might stay right here, or you might choose to walk forward a little bit. Keeping in mind that we just did a fair amount of back bending, so take a gentle care with your body as you forward bend. And then come back up to center. I'm going to turn the upper body to face the right leg. So actually really is quite a twist, taking that rib cage around the spine, taking the right hand behind you and the left hand in front as you draw the torso over. And then you might take that belt around the right foot and just simply lift up. Another option is to take a forward fold, to walk the hands down the strap, or take the hands to the either edge of the foot and fold forward. First step, simply lifting, making some space at the upper rib cage. And we're going to release. Come back through center and take it to the other side. So twisting to the left, really letting the rib cage spin around the spine. And again, what feels alive and what feels a little deadened as we notice those intercostal muscles, the relationship of the rib cage to the spine. And then you might take the belt on the left foot. How is this different from side to side? And again, what parts of the body are knocking that we can open to? And then as you're ready, release. We'll bring the legs back together. Just give them a shake. We're going to set up for something known as heart bench. I'll give you a couple of options. This is where the 2 blocks came in. So again, don't panic if you don't have 2 blocks. I'll show a few options. So the lower brick, either on the lowest height or the middle height, depending on how much arch you're going to want. And the back brick goes one higher. So it's either lowest and middle or middle and high. The first brick starts at the base of the rib cage and just holds your spine right in the middle. So you can take it like this. You could also take your blanket and lay it over if you like. That makes it more like a bolster. It's very nice. So you would lay down just like this. Again, the brick is hitting my lowest ribs, and then you want to reach back and just make sure this upper block, which is a little bit higher, is stable at the base so that you're not going to fall. It's holding your head. And the arms can come to your sides. They can hang off the side. The knees can be bent. The legs can be long. Or you could take cross legs. So that's the 2 block option. Say you have a blanket and 1 block. I would like you to do like this. And if you have the 2 blocks, go ahead in. If you have 1 block, take your blanket, make a jelly roll, bring it horizontal. You're going to lay it right across the middle of the shoulder blades, right at the back of the heart. So right in the middle of the shoulder blades, so you're really draping over it. If you want more opening, then you won't use that block on top. You can just lay down over that blanket or place a block under your head here. And then in this one, you'll figure out too where you'd like the arms to be and the legs. So elevating the heart, elevating the back of the head. Ani yeshena v'libi er. So let the heart be awake. It's naturally awake in this position, and let the rest of the body surrender. You might allow the eyes to close. And notice what you feel. Letting this position open the heart, and also letting the opening of the breath open the body, open the rib cage from within, from underneath, open the heart, give extra light to that pilot light from within. You can stay here longer if you like, but if you're ready to come out, we're going to move toward Shavasana by rolling to the side, just rolling off of the support. Move it away from under you. And lots of options for setting up for Shavasana. You can cover yourself with the blanket or use it under your head or under your knees. You could take, if you have the two blocks, it's nice to take one under each knee or under each thigh. Let it serve kind of as a bolster to give some ease to the lower back. I like to put the blocks kind of at the root of the thigh up top and just let the legs go. It's a very nice option. So wherever you are, make sure you have enough warmth to be quiet and still for a few minutes. Take your glasses off if you're wearing glasses. Allow the eyes to close if it's comfortable. Wriggle the shoulders, the shoulder blades under you. And then come to stillness and trust the body to integrate the work you've just done. A few minutes where there's nothing you have to do. Just be. Just allow. Ani yeshena v'libier kol dodi dofek pitchili. Ani yeshena v'libier kol dodi dofek pitchili. I was asleep, but my heart awoke, my heart awoke. Is that my dear one knocking at my door? I was asleep, but my heart awoke, my lover spoke. Is that my dear one calling out to me? Achoti rayati yonati tamati sheroshi nimlatal kevutsos airsi sela achoti rayati yonati tamati sheroshi nimlatal kevutzot airsi sela ela ani yeshena v'libier kol dodi dofek pitchili. Beginning to deepen the breath. Wiggle the fingers on the toes. Slowly take your time, make your way up to a comfortable seat. As we seal our intention to listen inwardly this week to parts of ourselves that are awake, parts of ourselves that are asleep, parts of ourselves, of this beloved, that are knocking. And hear our own voice intertwined with God's voice. I want to share a few words from yoga teacher Eric Schiffman. When your nervous system has been purified, calmed, and sensitized through asana practice and meditation, and when you are thoroughly familiar with the feeling tone of being centered, at peace, and in harmony with yourself, the impulses coming from the infinite will reverberate through you with more clarity. Allow yourself more and more to trust the answers that arise from within, and pursue the fulfillment of your happiness by faithfully following instructions. Do those things your deepest impulses urge you to do. Be genuine, authentic. Eventually, in not too long a time, this won't even seem such a daring thing to do. It will simply make sense to let go of your limited knowing and open yourself to the larger wisdom. Just close with one hand to the heart. Kol dodi dofek, pitchi li. Sensing this ability to hear the knock, to open the door. And releasing your hand, allow the eyes to open. Thank you for practicing today.